So, let's dive into a genuinely fascinating internet mystery I stumbled upon recently. It's a deeply philosophical form debate trying to answer a pretty massive question. Is the creator of our physical universe a divine architect or a tyrannical jailer? Have you ever looked around at the world and wondered, is this reality a perfectly designed school meant for our spiritual growth, or is it actually some kind of cosmic trap we're desperately supposed to escape? Well, I was reading through this incredibly intense online thread where users were clashing over exactly this idea. And the whole debate centers around a very ancient, very polarizing concept, the Demiurge. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the arguments from both sides of the aisle, looking directly at the source material that sparked this whole cosmic face-off.
Because we are unpacking some pretty intense esoteric concepts today, here is our roadmap for the explainer. First, etymology and origins. Second, Weir's view, machines and light. Third, the Indian perspective, the matrix. Fourth, the opposition, Gnostic enemy and Jung. And finally, number 5, the final paradox, creator or jailer.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, etymology and origins.
To really get this debate, we first have to understand where the term actually comes from. The crucial point here is that originally, in ancient texts like Plato's Timaeus, the demiurge wasn't necessarily an evil figure. The word demiurge comes from ancient Greek, and it literally just translates to worker or craftsman. It essentially describes the superterrestrial force that built the physical universe. In fact, if you're familiar with Freemasonry, they derive their concept of the supreme architect from this exact term. The author of our forum thread points out that before later philosophical movements painted this figure as some sort of dark, oppressive tyrant, the craftsman gods of the ancient world were just considered the brilliant mechanics of the cosmos, right? They weren't making the overarching spiritual rules, they were just building the physical clockwork of reality.
And it's honestly incredible how consistent this is across cultures. Whether we're talking about the Greek Hephaestus learning his craft in the ocean, the Egyptian god Ptah emerging from the noon abyss, Enki taming the Abzu in Mesopotamia, or even the biblical YHH creating from the void, the pattern is identical. Across all of ancient history, the creator god, the demiurge, is consistently shown organizing the universe out of a primordial, watery abyss. The forum author traces this back through thousands of years just to show that initially, the demiurge is simply a builder working with chaotic, watery materials to forge the structured physical reality we live in today.
So, moving on to section 2, Weir's view, machines and light.
Let's get into the first major argument in our internet debate. The author of the original post fiercely defends a very specific pro-creator interpretation from a thinker named Samael Aun-Weor. According to this view, it's a huge mistake to imagine the demiurge as a lone guy with a white beard sitting on a cloud, or even as a single comic book villain. Instead, Weor defines the demiurge as a multiple perfect unity, so it's a massive collective host. We are talking about a vast workforce of Dyanchohans, which are essentially highly evolved spiritual beings, working right alongside angels, archangels, and cosmic forces. It's an entire administrative body shaping the cosmos together, rather than just one lone tyrannical god pulling all the strings.
Now, Akor's metaphor for how this cosmic workforce operates is jarring, and honestly it sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie. Under this view, humans are literally biological machines trapped in the demiurge's mechanical karma. The whole process works in 4 steps. Step 1, pure cosmic light descends. Step 2, the demiurge's mechanical laws catch this light. Step 3, we, the human machines, process and transform this energy just by living our daily, cyclical lives, going through our routines, experiencing emotions. And finally, step 4, this processed energy ultimately nourishes planet Earth itself. We are basically living batteries in a massive cosmic circuit. Crazy, right?
But here's the kicker. The forum author notes that Weir definitely doesn't want us to stay as batteries. To escape this cyclical matrix, Weir argues we have to steal the light back from the demiurge's mechanical laws of nature. This means actively fighting our deepest biological drives, like the urge to reproduce, because those drives ultimately tie our consciousness to the physical world. The forum author points to this super intense quote from the Gospel of Luke to highlight the extreme nature of this idea. Blessed are the barren. The argument here is that if you want to stop feeding your energy into the planet and instead actually evolve spiritually, you have to fight the mechanical, karmic laws of the demiurge that are coded right into your very blood and bones.
Let's shift gears to section 3, the Indian perspective, or as it's perfectly described here, the matrix.
Before the opposing debater even chimes in, the original poster builds a fascinating bridge by bringing in a parallel from a sacred Indian text called the Anurag Sagar, or the Ocean of Love. And what we see here is an epic cosmic conspiracy. On one side, you have Kal Niranjan, who is essentially the Indian equivalent of the Demiurge, or the negative force. Kal actively brags about trapping souls in a matrix of illusion, using karma and worldly desires to make humanity completely forget their divine spiritual origins. On the other side, you have Guru Kabir, who acts as the ultimate liberator. He fights back by promising to use the true word to expose these tricks and completely break the trapped souls out of the matrix.
Which brings us to the pushback. Section 4, the opposition, Gnostic enemy, and Jung.
Now we get to the fierce rebuttal. An anonymous commenter jumps into the thread and completely rejects Weir's semi-positive view of this creator. They claim Weir's definition is an absurd departure from mainstream Gnosticism. And this table perfectly captures the core tension of the thread. On one side, Weir's camp sees a mechanical cosmic workshop, a Platonic logos ordered by divine reason, a multiple unity. But the opponent argues for the traditional Gnostic view. To them, the Demiurge is an extreme abraxas. Actually, scratch that. He's not just a neutral mechanic. He's a supreme, tyrannical deity who acts as the ultimate enemy of life and humanity. They don't see a neutral mechanical universe at all. They see a malevolent cosmic trap. To this commenter, saying the creator of this chaotic, suffering-filled world is somehow perfect is just absolute nonsense.
And to back up their point, the anonymous debater brings in the heavy-hitting philosophy of Carl Jung. They point out that after the unprecedented horrors of World War II and the Holocaust, Jung had to honestly confront the stark reality of our world. For the opponent, these modern atrocities are the ultimate proof. The idea of a meaningful or benevolent demiurge completely vanished in the smoke and tragedy of the 20th century. It left behind this terrifying existential dread and the realization that we are trapped in a cosmic prison seemingly run by a madman. I mean, they ask, how could a loving architect design a universe where such profound suffering exists?
But the original author is not backing down. They fire back immediately, basically throwing Jung's authority right out the window. They claim Jung's view was inherently flawed and strictly limited. Why? Well, because Jung, in their view, only ever studied the negative, ego-driven aspects of human psychology. He approached the cosmos entirely as clinical work and never actually encountered true enlightened spiritual liberation. Therefore, his conclusion that the universe is just a dark, meaningless trap is simply the result of his own limitations, his inability to see past his own human ego to the higher, hidden spiritual mechanics of the cosmos.
And that leads us nicely to our final point. Section 5, Final Paradox, Creator or Jailer. So after exploring this intense back and forth, how do we reconcile these two radically different visions of reality? What's genuinely fascinating is that despite their fierce disagreements, both sides of the debate end up touching on the same profound underlying idea. Think of it like weights in a gym. You absolutely need the heavy, oppressive resistance of the weights, the darkness, to build the muscle, to allow the true spiritual light to exist, test itself, and actually recognize itself. Both sides end up quoting Sir Francis Bacon, who perfectly said, in order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. Perhaps the mechanical, restrictive, and even painful darkness of the demiurge is actually a necessary cosmic resistance.
Ultimately, this explainer leaves us with the exact same paradox those forum users wrestled with. Is the demiurge a necessary cosmic architect, laying down strict mechanical laws that we are meant to struggle against and eventually outgrow? Or is the demiurge a tyrannical jailer, and is this universe just a prison we are destined to forcefully defeat and escape? It completely reframes how you look at every challenge and struggle in your life. So, what do you think? Are you serving a life sentence, or are you just in a really tough cosmic classroom? I'll leave that for you to decide. Keep questioning, and thank you for joining me on this deep dive.